All right, so if you're watching this video, hopefully you have submitted a picture of your completed worksheet in your PDF. You've watched the other videos and you kind of have a grasp of what you are doing in regards to 1 point perspective. So this is me going over your project, okay? So as you can see, these are some student examples. They are all similar in that they have picked one particular color for their particular shapes. And when they go to do the Prisma or color pencils, if you're at home, they are kind of staying within the realm of that color scheme. So, with greens, you can add a little bit of blue to get some more shadows. Same with the pinks and reds, you can add a little bit of violet. But we are going for a monochromatic inspired project. That's how I explained it in class. So it's not fully monochromatic, but it is inspired. So monochromatic, remember, mono means one, chromatic means color. So it's one color, the lightness and darkness of that one color. But again, it's an inspired monochromatic project. So you will be allowed to use a little bit of other colors. Now, if you are going to use other colors that are not, let's say, for example, green, right? And I mentioned they use a bit of blue. Blue and green are next to each other on the color wheel, a 6-part color wheel. So that is perfectly fine. Now, of course, you can't use reds within the blues because then that'll be way off because red and blue is not next to each other on the color wheel. So make sure if you're wanting to use a different color as opposed to the main color that you're going for, it needs to be right next to each other. And remember, we talked about any 3 colors that are next to each other are called analogous colors. But again, you're not doing 3 colors next to each other. You're just going to pick one, and then if you need another color that's next door to make shadows, then that's fine. If any of that was confusing for you, just let me know and I can try to re-explain it. All right, so essentially what your project is you're just going to draw a vanishing point anywhere on your page, okay? It doesn't say middle. It says anywhere on the page, all right? Just make sure that it's somewhere that everything can go towards and it won't be too crazy busy, okay? This part I have actually changed. So I don't actually care if you do the same shape. If you want to do triangles and squares and rectangles and one of each geometric shape you can think of, that is fine with me. That is okay. Remember, whenever you're drawing, the closer the shape is to the vanishing point, the smaller it should be. And you need to get creative with the placement. So uh, in that PDF that we had just worked on, you have probably noticed that I drew them for you. Obviously, for this particular project, I am not drawing them for you. You are drawing the shape. So you need to make sure that when you are drawing, everything that is closest to the vanishing point is smaller. And then as you get away and get closer to, let's say, the edge of the page, that is where it's going to be a bit bigger. Okay. You're going to make sure you're connecting those small shapes and their vertices to the vanishing point first before doing your outermost or your larger shapes. All right, again, we're referring to the PDF and that worksheet that you worked on. It's not new information, it's just reiterating. Once you've gotten all of those shapes drawn, you're going to trace everything with a regular Sharpie. If you're at home for this particular part and you don't have a Sharpie, you could use a black pen, a black crayon marker, just something that is black so you get a crisp, clean outline, all right? And if you're at home for pretty much this whole project and you're not back at school by this point, you don't have to worry about doing the outermost layer in a very thick outline. You can, but this is to help us cut and glue it to our black paper. So again, if you're not going to be doing that because you're at home and you don't have access to black paper, then you can kind of skip this step. So again, you can kind of skip where it says today's agenda, but what you need to make sure you're doing is you are creating thumbnail sketches in your sketchbook. I hope you're hearing me because I'm going to tell you right now, this is a quiz grade. These thumbnail sketches are a quiz grade, okay? You can ignore where it says 2. You're welcome to do 2, but because y'all got so much going on with your COVID or just trying to stay caught up, just worry about doing 1 sketch for now, okay? I'll be fine if you just get 1 thumbnail sketch. That is perfectly fine with me. again though, this is a quiz grade. Your thumbnail sketches are a quiz grade, so you need to make sure you are sending me a picture of what it looks like so you can get an easy 100 for a quiz grade. This part is important. It says 8 shapes minimum. Doesn't say maximum. If you would like to do more than 8, if you want to do, let's say 10, that is fine, okay? But 8 is the minimum. You do not have to worry about this. This is, again, for my in-class kiddos. You don't need to worry about coloring your sketchbook thumbnail sketch because that seems like a redundant thing to do because you're going to color your final. So if you want to practice coloring and shading within your thumbnail sketches, that's fine. But I'm only requiring you to do your thumbnail sketches or sketch and submit that for a quiz grade. Again, if you are at home during all of this, that is my requirement. If you make it back to school, we'll have a different conversation because I'll be able to help you and whatnot. And you have more access to things. Okay, so thumbnail sketches, turn them in, quiz grade, 8 shapes. These steps are in picture format on Canvas. So make sure you're here. All right, these are the shapes. Or sorry, these are the shapes, but these are the steps. Okay, so make sure you're following that. Now I'm going to kind of show you essentially what you're going to do, or, reminder in this point. So I'm taking, obviously, paint and doing it digital so I can show you. But you're going to need to do this on paper because you need to learn good ruler habits, okay? So I am showing you essentially what you're going to be doing, but again, you're going to do it non-digitally. I'm not going to accept digital for this project. Sorry if that was in your plans, but it just got squashed. So you notice that I did all of my tiny ones first. Now these are all kind of medium. These are my bigger ones. I would go ahead and maybe do this one next. So I'm just going to kind of work this while I kind of talk over. So let's say you're at home, right? And you're still working on this project. You're not at school yet. I would love for you to find some type of copy paper, okay? Colored copy paper. But I'm also very aware that we don't all have access to the same things at home. If you could just find white paper or even do it in your sketchbook, that would be wonderful. And then, we don't have to worry about you going out and buying anything. I just would prefer if it being on a color paper, so when you do the coloring part, because that is still a requirement, it will look better, look cleaner, and you'll really get the idea of the monochromatic portion of it. So I'm awkwardly trying to reach these vanishing points doing a digital version, so it's not the most accurate, so forgive me. Obviously yours needs to be more accurate than mine. You are allowed to do a star, but like I told all my in-person kids in classes, draw shapes that you know you can draw. And obviously make sure you're using a ruler at all times. Okay, don't freehand anything. I am an observant individual. Y'all should know that by now. If all of these lines are wonky and wobbly, then I'm going to know you're going to lose points. It is what it is. Okay, you've got to get better at using rulers. All right. Oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I got it. So when you have finished drawing your shapes and connecting them with a ruler, again, make sure you are tracing everything with a Sharpie. Once you're getting to that Sharpie or the black marker, whatever you have access to at home, you still need to be using the ruler. Okay? Don't work so hard to do all these really pretty shapes. Connect them with the rulers. All for you to just take a Sharpie with no ruler and freehand and wobbly hot mess. Okay? Ruler, ruler, ruler for every single thing that you do. Okay? I'm going to very quickly go over how I would love for you to shade. Oop, it just turned this blue. I did not mean for that to happen. Okay. So I'm kind of just doing this on the fly. So y'all are kind of doing this with me because I don't know what I'm doing because I'm not a digital person. As you can see, I'm using paint. So what you would do for your Prisma is you'll take a dark value. I'm going to say mine is blue, right? my monochromatic inspired is blue. I'm going to do darker colors as I get towards the vanishing point, and then as I get away, I'm going to get lighter and lighter. Of course, this again is paint. It does not tell you anything about what you're doing with your monochromatic color schemes and your hand pressures and all that. So make sure that when you are doing these coloring portions that you are watching your hand pressure. Don't press down hard when you're trying to go from one color to the next, okay? Just as ugly as this is, I don't want to see light, medium, and dark values. I want it to be a very gradual transition. You do not have to have Prismas at home, although obviously if you have them, please use them. But again, Crayola color pencils, they'll work just fine. No markers. I don't care if you have alcohol markers, and I know they can blend. No, no, no. This is supposed to be a color pencil practice project, so make sure you are using color pencils, okay? No crayons either. Pencils that are colored. So go ahead whenever you have gotten all that done, do the coloring. Again, cutting it out and gluing it to black paper is totally optional if you are still at home for the whole project. But if you just get this part done, colored, bada bing, bada boom, with all of your shapes, then send me a picture. This is a major grade, so don't rush it. Take your time. My in-person class kiddos have a ton of time to do it. Therefore, you at home get a ton of time to do it. But it is still due around the same time as theirs is. So, again, like I said before in the other video, make sure you are actively looking at due dates, okay? Actively looking at due dates is your responsibility. Alrighty, so hopefully I did it justice explaining everything you need to do. But of course, if you have any questions, you need to ask because I am absolutely more than happy to help. Linear perspective, 1 point perspective can be tricky if you have never done it before, especially if you're at home. So make sure you are doing what you got to do to stay afloat with all your grades. Alrighty. So yeah, let me know if you ever have any questions.